Veterinary anatomy forms the foundation of the paraclinical and clinical subjects. A sound knowledge of anatomy plays an important role in improving clinical skills and competencies of veterinary students for the effective clinical diagnosis and treatment of animals. Also, all the modern diagnostic imaging techniques require a thorough knowledge of topographic anatomy, that is, the relative position of various organs in particular region of the body. First, let's learn about the important anatomical structures in the head and neck region of the body. The prominent bony prominences in the head region are ventral mandibular border, angle of the mandible, the orbital rim, frontal prominence, the zygomatic arch, the external occipital prominence, and temporal line. The clinically important superficial structures on the lateral head views are parotid salivary gland and parotid lymph node, mandibular salivary gland and mandibular lymph node, masseter muscle, facial groove which contains facial artery, facial vein, and the extensions duct coming from the parotid salivary gland. The clinical intervention which is most frequently employed in head and neck region of cattle is the process of dehorning. It is performed to enhance the appearance of the animal, to make the animal more controllable, manageable, and also in disease and affections of the horn. For example, the fracture or the broken horn, cancer of horn, avulsion or evulsion of the horn. And to proceed with the dehorning procedure, cornual nerve must be blocked. The temporal line is used as palpable landmark to block the cornual nerve which innervates the horn in cattle. The cornual nerve emerges from the orbit and it courses towards the base of the horn along the temporal line. The injection of the local anesthetic should be given along the temporal line at a place midway between the eye and the horn. Additionally, a ring nerve block is sometimes performed by depositing a local anesthetic around the base of the horn to achieve maximal pain suppression. The horn can be sawed off using a hacksaw or obstetrical wire. The cornual artery which supplies the horn must also be ligated or its branches must be cauterized before we proceed for the process of dehorning. In case of adult goats, two nerves must be blocked to anesthetize the horn in contrast of one nerve block in case of cattle. First, the cornual branch of the lacrimal nerve, that is zygomaticotemporal nerve, is blocked by giving an injection between the lateral canthus of the eye and the lateral part of the base of the horn, behind the root of supraorbital process. The second injection is to block the cornual branches of the infratrochlear nerve, which is given more medial than the cornual nerve between the medial canthus of the eye and medial edge of the base of the horn at dorsomedial margin of the orbit. The next procedure in the head region is auriculopalpebral nerve block. The orbicularis oculi muscle causes tight lid closure, especially in painful eye conditions, and eyelid akinesia and anesthesia may be essential for complete examination of the eyeball. The auriculopalpebral block is purely a motor nerve block and does not remove any sensation. It is used to facilitate the examination of the eye, especially in painful conditions, and also to control eyelid movement during minor surgical procedures. The site for the auriculopalpebral nerve block is to inject the anesthetic solution at the highest point of the zygomatic arch or at multiple injections along the zygomatic arch. Since it does not block the sensory supply, to block the sensory supply, another nerve block is given, and that nerve block is named as retrobulbar nerve block. Retrobulbar nerve block is done by giving an anesthetic injection to desensitize the structure of eye, the medial and lateral canthi of the eye. Upper and lower eyelids are used as landmarks for anesthetic injection at 4 points. However, a single injection at the lower eyelids between the orbit and the eyeball is also preferred sometimes to block the sensory supply. One of the important procedures in canine's head region is Jepes operation to provide drainage in cases of chronic otitis and for removal of the neoplastic growth. In this procedure, external ear is opened by giving incision on both the sides of the tragus, and the flap is turned down, and the cartilage on the rostral wall of the vertical portion of the external ear canal is removed to expose the meatus below the bend in the canal. One of the nerve blocks which is given in case of canine is mental nerve block, which is performed by injecting local anesthetic solution in the middle mental foramen located at the lateral aspect of the mandible. Let's move on to the next section of the body, and we go on to the neck region. In the neck region, the palpable bony prominences are atlantal wings and transverse processes of the cervical vertebrae. Clinically important superficial structures on lateral views of neck are epiaxial musculature, trachea, and the jugular groove. A triangular muscular area below the transverse processes of cervical vertebrae is the preferred site for inoculation of intramuscular injection in case of ruminants and horses. The trachea is superficial and easily palpable on the ventral aspect of the neck, and thus is the preferred site for tracheotomy. The jugular groove is an important clinical site in case of ruminants and horses and is used for blood collection and also for the administration of fluids and medicines for treatment through the intravenous route. The jugular groove is located between the brachiocephalic muscles dorsally placed and the sternocephalic muscles ventrally placed. The external jugular vein runs along the neck, occupying the jugular groove. In the cranial and middle thirds of the neck, it is subcutaneously placed. Therefore, it is the first choice for sampling and intravenous injection in case of most large animals. The next segment is the forelimb. The regional anesthesia is a valuable tool for localizing the site of lameness, inducing pain to a particular area of a horse limb so that other diagnostic procedures can be performed more effectively and economically to identify the causes of lameness. In case of horses, 4 nerve blocks are performed more frequently starting from distal towards the proximal area of the limb, and these 4 nerve blocks are palmar or plantar digital nerve block, abaxial sesamoidian nerve block or high digital block, low 4-point nerve block and high 4-point nerve block. First of all, a clinician starts giving the palmar or plantar digital nerve block. The palmar or plantar digital nerve block anesthetizes the palmar or plantar nerves, innervating the palmar aspect or plantar aspect of the foot. To give this block, hold the limb, palpate the neurovascular bundle along the dorsal border of the flexor tendons in the pastern region. Palpate the lateral cartilages. Insert the needle just proximal to the ungual cartilage at the pastern joint. The second block, that is abaxial sesamoidian nerve block or high digital nerve block, is given when the pain is not relieved by palmar digital nerve block. To give this nerve block, palpate the neurovascular bundle as it courses over the abaxial sides at distal end of proximal sesamoids. Palpate the palmar digital nerve and its dorsal branch over the sides of the proximal sesamoid bones more distally and locate the base of the sesamoid bone. Inject local anesthetic solution and blocking distally from where the nerves can be palpated prevents the anesthetic from going too far proximally, possibly anesthetizing the fetlock area. And the third nerve block is low 4-point nerve block. Nerves blocked to desensitized during this 4-point nerve block are medial and lateral palmar nerves located on each side between the flexor tendons and the suspensory ligament. Medial and lateral palmar metacarpal nerves found emerging beneath the buttons of the splint bone. To perform a low palmar nerve block, these 4 nerves are blocked. To anesthetize them, deposit a local anesthetic solution, usually about 2 ml subcutaneously adjacent to the dorsal surface of the deep digital flexor tendon. The medial and lateral metacarpal nerves lie between the palmar surface of the third metacarpal bone and the axial surface of either the second or fourth metacarpal bone. To anesthetize them, deposit local anesthetic solution beneath the distal end of each metacarpal bone where the nerves emerges. High palmar nerve block is sometimes the next block used to localize lameness that has not improved after the low palmar nerve block. With the high palmar nerve block or high 4-point block, the medial and lateral palmar nerves and the medial and lateral palmar metacarpal nerves are anesthetized slightly distal to the level of the carpo-metacarpal joint. To anesthetize each palmar nerve in this location, deposit local anesthetic solution, insert it through heavy fascia to where the palmar nerves lie adjacent to the dorsal surface of the deep digital flexor tendon. The palmar nerves are usually anesthetized in this location with the horses bearing weight on the limb. The medial and lateral palmar metacarpal nerves are anesthetized slightly below the carpo-metacarpal joint where the nerves lie between the palmar surface of the third metacarpal bone and the axial surface of the second or fourth metacarpal bones. As far as the limbs of canines are concerned, the cephalic vein is the choice of blood collection and intravenous injections. The cephalic vein is formed by the upward continuation of the medial metacarpal vein. In the thoracic region, the palpable anatomical landmarks of animals are the scapula, a spinous process of thoracic vertebrae, olecranon tuberosity, most of the ribs, sternum, costal arch, and intercostal muscles. Two important clinical examination procedures done in this region are auscultation and percussion of heart and lungs. The heart is located in middle mediastinal space between third intercostal space to sixth intercostal space and from sternum about two-thirds of the way up to thorax and to the left of median plane. The auscultation of heart is restricted to a small area near olecranon. The olecranon is located at the fifth intercostal space in the normal standing animal. Therefore, there is smaller portion of heart caudal to the arm is in contact with the thoracic wall. As this area is covered by the triceps muscle, to auscultate heart, one needs to press up between the triceps brachii muscle and thoracic wall. In case of horses, the landmark for auscultation of heart is the intercostal space 2nd to intercostal space 5th, passing through the shoulder joint, caudal border of triceps muscle and the olecranon. To have access to all the sounds of the heart, one will have to move the limbs as much forward as possible and introduce the stethoscope as deep as possible under the triceps brachii muscle. In case of dogs, 4/7 of heart lies to the left of the median plane and occupies thoracic space between third and fourth rib and between sternum and half height of the thoracic cavity. For auscultation, it is necessary to pull forward the forelimbs so that heart sound can be heard in lower third of chest between fifth intercostal space. Coming to the auscultation and percussion of lungs, the technique of auscultation and percussion of the thorax are used to determine the state of lungs. The anatomical areas involved are the same, but the shape and size and the landmarks differ in different species. The area of auscultation and percussion is delineated by three border lines: cranial border, dorsal border, and basal border. In all the animals, cranial and dorsal borders of this auscultation and percussion area are the same. Cranial border is formed by caudal border of triceps from the caudal angle of scapula to the olecranon. The dorsal border lies on the line which extends from the caudal angle of the scapula to the tuber cocci. The ventral border in case of buffaloes and cow. On the left chest, the ventral border of left thoracic lung field extends posteriorly from a point just above the caudal border of the elbow at the sixth costochondral junction. The ventral border is demarcated by an imaginary curving line passing through the middle of the ninth rib to the most proximal part of the 11th intercostal space. The right thoracic lung field occupies a comparable position on the right side of the thorax. In case of horse, from a point 10 cm dorsal to the 6th costochondral junction, trace a slight ventrocaudal space with the projection of the roof of the thoracic cavity, then along the projection of the roof of the thoracic cavity and caudal border of the triceps brachii muscle. A strong line from the sternal end of 6th rib through the middle of 11th or 12th intercostal space and onto the vertebral border of the 16th intercostal space makes the basal border. While in case of dogs, the basal border is formed by a strong curve from the sternal end of 6th rib to the 11th intercostal space at the dorsal border.
Thoracic and abdominal cavities are separated by a diaphragm. Diaphragm has three openings. First opening is foramen vena cava or caval foramen, which is situated at the level of 8th thoracic vertebrae and through which caudal vena cava passes. Second is hiatus esophagi, which is located ventral to aortic hiatus at the level of 10th thoracic vertebra, through which esophagus and dorsal and ventral vagus nerve passes. And third opening is hiatus aorticus, located ventral to 12th thoracic vertebrae, through which abdominal aorta, azygous vein and thoracic duct passes. Abdominal cavity is the largest cavity located between thoracic and pelvic cavities. The roof of cavity is formed by lumbar vertebrae, sublumbar muscles and crura of diaphragm. The lateral walls are formed by abdominal muscles and abdominal tunic. The floor of the cavity consists of two rectus abdominis muscles, aponeurosis of oblique and transverse muscles, abdominal tunic, and xiphoid cartilage. On the ventral side, a midline called linea alba. Linea means line, alba means white, so which is also called white line, and is formed by joining the aponeurosis of abdominal muscles from both sides. In small animals, an incision is given on this line to perform abdominal surgeries. In the cavity, the non-osseous part of abdomen is called flank, which is bounded dorsally by transverse process of lumbar vertebrae, anteriorly by last rib, and posteriorly it extends from tubercocci to stifle joint. The flank region is used to perform most of the abdominal surgeries. In the upper part of flank, a triangular depression is there which is called paralumbar fossa. The paralumbar fossa is bounded dorsally by lumbar vertebrae, ventrally by anterior border of internal oblique muscle, and cranially by last rib. The paralumbar fossa is important clinically. On left side, it is used to feel ruminal movements, to collect rumen liquor, to relieve bloating, and to conduct rhumatomy. Whereas on the right side, it is the site for conducting enterotomy. The wall of the abdomen is comprised of four very important muscles which derive their names from their position and structure. Below the skin, after the superficial fascia, the external most muscle is obliquus abdominis externus, which originates from the lateral surface of last 8 to 10 ribs, and it inserts at linea alba and inguinal ligament. In the inguinal region, aponeurosis divides into two main portions, which forms a slit-like opening called superficial inguinal ring of inguinal canal. Deep inguinal ring of the inguinal canal is the internal opening of inguinal canal formed by the caudal border of internal oblique abdominal muscles. The testicles descend towards scrotum through this inguinal canal. So whenever one or both of the testes fail to descend from abdomen into the scrotum, the condition is called cryptorchidism. Below the externus muscle, next is internal oblique abdominal muscle, which originates from tubercocci and thoracolumbar fascia and inserts at linea alba. Below the internal muscle, the next muscle is transverse abdominis muscle, which arises from transverse process of lumbar vertebrae, and it inserts at linea alba. The fourth muscle of abdomen is rectus abdominis muscle, which extends from sternum along the ventral abdomen on either side of linea alba, and it inserts on prepubic tendon. Clinically, the external rectus sheath, which is formed by aponeurosis of obliquus abdominis externus and obliquus abdominis internus, is very important and is holding layer during closing of abdomen after surgery because of presence of connective tissue. The nerve supply to abdominal wall is mainly by ventral branches of last thoracic, that is T13 or costo-abdominal, first lumbar L1 or iliohypogastric, and second lumbar L2 or ilioinguinal nerves. For any surgery in flank area, these three nerves are to be blocked. These three nerves can be blocked by paravertebral nerve block or simply by inverted L block. In inverted L nerve block, the anesthetic solution is injected in L-shaped pattern in the flank. The paravertebral nerve block is indicated for standing laparotomy surgeries such as caesarean section, rhimnotomy, secotomy, correction of gastrointestinal displacement, intestinal obstruction, and volvulus. The paravertebral nerve block can be given proximally or distally. In proximal paravertebral nerve block, the dorsal aspect of the transverse process of last thoracic and first and second lumbar vertebra is the site for needle placement. In the distal paravertebral nerve block, the dorsal and ventral branches of spinal nerves T13, L1 and L2 are desensitized at the distal ends of first lumbar, second lumbar and fourth lumbar vertebra. The needle is inserted ventral to the tips of respective transverse processes of the lumbar vertebrae. Then the needle is completely withdrawn and reinserted dorsal to the transverse process of lumbar vertebrae, where the cutaneous branches of dorsal rami are injected. In buffalo, the abdominal cavity on left side is completely filled with rumen. Rumen extends from cardia, which lies a little above the middle of 7th intercostal space or 8th rib to the pelvic inlet. Reticulum, which is the most cranial part of ruminant stomach, lies under cover of 6th to 8th rib, mainly to left of median plane against the diaphragm. A very common condition, traumatic reticuloperitonitis, which is also called hardware disease in adult cattle, is caused by ingestion of sharp objects along with feed. Due to weight, the object entering cardia falls into reticulum and get fixed in reticulum due to its honeycomb-like structure. The contractions of reticulum may push sharp foreign bodies to pierce the diaphragm and also the pericardium of heart, leading to traumatic reticulopericarditis. To avoid this condition, now a magnet is placed in reticulum to avoid migration and penetration of foreign bodies through the diaphragm. The next part of the stomach is omasum. Omasum is the spherical compartment, lies within intrathoracic part of abdomen to the right of midline between rumen and reticulum to the left and liver and body wall to the right side under cover of 7th to 11th rib. The fourth segment of ruminant stomach is abomasum, which is situated upon the abdominal floor and touches the lower pole of omasum from behind. The position and relations of the abomasum depend upon the fullness of different parts of stomach and contraction of rumen and reticulum. Abomasal displacement to right or left is a well recognized disorder. So in this condition, the abomasum may be repositioned and sutured clinically. The right side of the abdominal cavity is packed by intestines under the cover of ribs. The liver lies almost entirely within the right half of the abdomen and is related to caudal face of diaphragm under the cover of ribs, and it extends between ventral third of sixth intercostal space to upper part of last rib. The preferred site for biopsy specimens of liver is through 11th intercostal space in a plane of lower part of tuberosity. The needle for biopsy is directed to meet the diaphragm and the liver at right angle to ensure a clean puncture. The right kidney is embedded in the renal impression of liver, whereas the left kidney is present behind and below the level of right kidney. The left kidney can be palpated on rectal examination, whereas the contact with right one is not possible. The spleen lies under the dorsal end of last two ribs. The ventral extremity is opposite the 8th and 9th rib, just a hand's breadth above its sternal end. In horses, the cardiac part of stomach is fixed at 11th rib. When moderately distended, the fundus extends under the upper part of 15th rib, and the lowest part of the body reaches the ventral part of 9th and 10th rib. In horses, the cardiac sphincter is exceptionally well developed, and this, along with oblique entrance of esophagus, is responsible for the horse's inability to eructate or vomit. In horses, the intestines occupy the major part of abdominal cavity. Duodenum is relatively fixed in position, whereas the large intestine is having enormous capacity and a sacculated form. The cecum is comma-shaped structure which occupies right abdominal cavity. Its base begins in right paralumbar fossa. Body continue cranially along the right wall and floor of abdominal cavity, and apex of cecum is the tapered end which lies on floor of abdominal cavity caudal to xiphoid cartilage. The colon of the horses is highly modified with great capacity. The ascending colon is also called great colon. It has different parts. The right ventral colon continue cranioventrally from costochondral junction of 18th rib to 9th costal cartilage, reaches xiphoid region, deflected across midline as sternal flexor, then passes caudally as left ventral colon on the abdominal floor. It passes towards pelvis. Here it forms pelvic flexor. Then it rotates and continue as left dorsal colon and continue towards diaphragm. Here it forms diaphragmatic flexor and then continue as right dorsal colon. This part is the shortest but widest part. It runs first caudally and deflected medially as transverse colon at the level of 6th costal cartilage. The most common impaction sites due to change in diameter are pelvic flexor, cecum, and transverse colon. The pelvic flexor and the left dorsal colon are without saculations and anti-mesenteric bands. In horses, the liver is situated in the cranial part of abdomen directly against diaphragm. The most caudal part lies ventral to vertebral extremities of 16th and 17th rib of right side. The right kidney lies ventral to last 2 or 3 ribs and first lumbar transverse process, whereas the left kidney lies between 17th rib and second to third transverse process of lumbar vertebrae.
The palpable landmarks in the pelvic region are tuber cocci, tuber ischii, tuber sacral, median sacral crest in case of ox, spinous processes of sacral vertebrae in case of horse and dogs, and ischiorectal fossa. The clinically important procedures in the pelvic and perianal region are the collection of cerebrospinal fluid, recording of pulse, epidural anesthesia, and anal sacs in case of dogs. CSF can be collected from either the cisterna magna or the lumbosacral space, but lumbosacral site is generally the preferred site over the cisterna magna. The site of CSF collection is the midline in the middle of the depression between the last palpable lumbar dorsal spine and the first palpable dorsal spine of sacral vertebrae. Another anatomical landmark for this site is a transverse line between each iliac wing. Local anesthetic is infiltrated subcutaneously at the site. The needle is advanced at a right angle to the vertebral column. The second important procedure in this area is recording of pulse. The pulse is recorded from the middle coccygeal artery, which is palpable along the midline of the ventral surface of the tail approximately 5 to 10 cm from the tail head. In case of dogs, the femoral artery is located on the medial aspect of the thigh is palpated for recording of pulse. The third important procedure in this region is the administration of epidural analgesia. The epidural anesthesia is one of the important procedures in this region, which is commonly used in large animals to prevent or control pain during surgeries involving the tail, anus, vulva, perineum, caudal udder, scrotum, and the upper hind limbs. The most common sites for epidural administration in cattle and buffaloes are sacrococcygeal intervertebral space and the first intercoccygeal intervertebral space. The site of injection can be identified by moving the tail up and down in a pump-like manner. The first proximal moving space that can be easily palpated in the preferred location for injection. The needle is usually directed slightly in a cranial direction and advanced slowly. A lack of resistance or popping sensation usually indicates that the epidural space is entered. The fourth important structure in this region is the anal sacs in case of dogs. The circumanal glands are lobulated, modified sebaceous glands located in a ring about the anus, extending outward for a distance of perhaps 3 cm from the anocutaneous junction. The nerve blocks performed on the hind limb of horses are same as that performed in the forelimb. The blood can be collected and intravenous administration of medicines can be done at the saphenous artery in case of dogs.
To watch more educational videos on veterinary and animal sciences, subscribe the channel and please touch the bell icon. Guru Angad Dev Veterinary and Animal Sciences University, Ludhiana on YouTube.